So a few months back, when the initial elections, so the initial voting period to vote on the final candidates for Oregon's governorship for 2022's election in November, Oregon, by the end of it, set a record for the least amount of votes cast in the entire state's history. Didn't matter your political affiliation, didn't matter your culture, didn't matter your background, didn't matter if you're atheist or faith based or anything like that. The reason why we set a record was because of the fact, and this is literally from the horse's mouths, the voters, that they simply didn't vote because of the fact that it wasn't worth it. Because every single goddamn candidate at the time, the 16, 18 total candidates that were going head to head for it, every single one of them, everybody said they're all corrupt. Not only are they all corrupt, they're all heavily bought out and controlled. Oregonians would do good to remember that going forward into this year's election. This really only has to do with one of them. It's my personal least favorite, and it's a woman by the name of Tina Kotek. She is the most intensively cliche for the whole Portland liberal progressive image and personality mentality you could possibly imagine. She has the short, consistent, like, butchish haircut. She dresses like a frickin' hipster. She has the glasses like a nerd. And, of course, she has to be all happily presenting that she's a lesbian. She's gay. Congratulations, nobody frickin' cares, Tina. All the cliches, right? Well, if you want to talk about being petty as all hell, she's about as petty as you get. And I knew this before, but this is about as low as you can go. Especially when it's because of the fact that you damn well know you are just as equally as likely as your opponent to lose this election cycle. You're that desperate for the votes that you're willing to be so petty as to commit bribery. And this is, by definition, a bribe. It is, hey, want to get some pictures with President Joe Biden? You got to come to my rally on the 15th. But you also got to pay me $10,000, aka donation. It's not donation. It's straight up robbery. This is so stupid. $10,000 to Tina Kotek gets you a photo with Bo Jiden Roth Resentep. With frickin' Senile Joe. Like, how incredibly petty could you get? And the irony is, I didn't even read anything beyond this title. I just opened it and got ready to make a video on it. This line I didn't even read. I only read that. That's it. Saw this, and then went and took care of business I needed to take care of before getting here to sit down to record. Then I read it, and I'm like, that aligned with my thought I had just had before I sat back down here, which is, suddenly, it makes Joe Biden's visit in Portland on the 14th that much more understandable. Before it seemed really random. But then I'm like, it's probably to rally in favor of Tina Kotek. Turns out, yup, that's what it's for. So he's going to be visiting downtown Portland and probably rallying and talking to people then in the evening. Apparently that's the case, according to the Portland Police Bureau. The streets are going to be crowded in the evening for his visits. However, he's going to be at a rally for Tina Kotek the next day, it turns out. So that's really what he's here for, clearly. How petty can you get? Like, having somebody represent you and come out to support you at a rally, it makes total sense. That's always been a thing. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Cool. But to go as far as to then get so petty as to say, hey, hint, hint, we can nudge, nudge, come to our rally and pay my way into office with your hard-earned tax money for $10,000 because you get a picture with Joe Biden. That is about as low as you can go. That is sleazy, wrong, indefensible, scummy as hell. It's very predatory. If you actually look at the percent of the vote in Oregon, by the way, there's another thing we set a record for. In the 2020 presidential elections, Oregon had 56% of the vote in favor of Joe Biden. 56%. That's it. You want to call Oregon a safe, Democrat stronghold, a blue state, and a liberal hellhole, you couldn't be more wrong. Oregon is actually, by definition, a swing state. They don't consider it one, they probably won't ever. But it is, because how do you define a swing state? It could go either way. It could swing either direction, because it's so perfectly split right down the middle. Oregon is more of a swing state in that regard than any other state in the Union, and always has been throughout its entire history. That's why 56% of the vote was a record. In the entire state's history, nobody has ever voted that in favor of any candidate in any presidential election. That says everything you need to know. It is so far from a blue hellhole, a blue stronghold, a Democrat stronghold, so far from it, because Oregon's always been historically dead split right down the center. And by the way, this governor race is proving it yet again. It's still split right down the center. And that's why I guarantee you Tina's doing this, because of the fact that they're desperate to get her the election as governor. Because they realized that Christine Drazan, the Republican candidate, is literally every day inching that much closer to being dead tied with her, if not actually surpassing her in the amount of votes that are already going in her favor and are projected to continue to go in her favor. Christine Drazan is actually literally tying up with her, which is incredible. In fact, actually, apparently she's already now showing a slight lead. That's already a shift from like 2 days ago. I don't understand why that happened. Don't think I clicked on anything, but maybe I did. Anyway, so she's actually leading now, and they're apparently very close in fundraising. So yeah, it literally proves my point. I guarantee this is a fact, not just an observation that could be correct. I think it's a legitimate fact that you can easily verify here that she's that desperate. That's why she's getting that much more petty. But then again, it's always been her modus operandi, her MO, Tina Kotek. She's always been some of the most petty people you've ever seen. And my God, does she and her supporters spam every day, just over the top spamming in her favor and all these pro Kotek messages on Twitter. And wouldn't you know, it's not working, clearly. That says everything you'll need to know. Yeah, again, show that Kate Brown has the lowest approval ratings of any governor in the country. Yeah, fuck you, Kate. I love it. And you're basically getting exactly the same cookie cutter Democrat that you got with Kate. They both have the same stances on pretty much everything. It's so stupid. According to this, if it's true, she's simply bringing Glenn Youngkin from Virginia in. That's all she's doing, Christine Drazan. Miss Petty, Kotek over here, is literally charging, or her and Biden are charging $10,000 for a photo op in order to get you to attend her rally and, well, support her to try to beat Christine. That's how desperate they are! It's just insane. I just wanted to talk about this just a bit and point this out, because this is about as low as you can go. I don't care if you are all about Democrats and all about liberalism or whatever else and suppose progressives. This kind of shit can't stand. You're a massive hypocrite if you support this while saying that it's sleazy to do it in any other case, or that it's bribery, right? Because that's exactly what it is. I'm going to add this one in. This is actually kind of interesting, because I didn't expect this from Tina at all. You would have thought that she would have actually complimented her, not been against it, but apparently her initial comment was she's been absent on the issues that matter to Oregonians. We need decisive leadership now. Well, that's one of the most, you can tell that's a blueprinted, scripted phrase. That is, you look throughout history, that is the most, especially modern day, the last 20 years, that is the most Democrat talking point ever and phrase to close something with. We need decisive leadership now. It's even in video games about becoming president. That's how obsessive they are over using this specific phrase. So you can tell she's just reading off her scripts. In fact, this is also so cliche that you straight up know it's from a script that they've had for way too long. Because again, not only throughout history can you see it, you can see it in, again, video games. This is the most typecasted, scripted freaking statement you could give. But at the same time, the fact that this is actually technically a negative, downing comment really surprises me. Because they are almost identical in so many different things. I'm pretty much just about everything, really. They're almost identical in every possible way, including personal lives they are. It's eerie, actually. Christine Drazon said, yeah, I was comparing Kate Brown's and Tina Kotek's relative integrity. Relatively. Typo. They have editors and proofreaders, and they still nowhere can get their shit right. Relative integrity. But yeah, which is totally true. Like, if you look at their track records and their histories, they're really bad track records. They really fucking suck. Dog catches car, now you've got to execute, which I love that. I love that. This is the least scripted answer of them all. It's the most probably improvised, but it's great. I love that. That is a fantastic analogy for it. In other words, she didn't execute. That's great. This face, though, Tina, that is... And look at that hand gesture. You know exactly what she's doing. She's doing that because she disapproves of whatever somebody near her has answered or said. Like, I don't even have to watch that to know exactly what she's doing in that instance. Classic.